Hi guys, happy Friday. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. In this video, I'm going to be looking into the question, who's headed your way and what do they want to say? There are three groups to choose from. Group one is the African Jade. Group two is the Carnelian. And group three is the Black Tourmaline. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the African Jade. So let's start by taking a look at who's headed your way. Okay, so we have the Seven of Swords, the Chariot, Eight of Cups, and the Six of Wands. So these energies speak to someone that you might not have ended on the best of terms with. There could have been like a fight, a disagreement, a misunderstanding, hurt feelings, and someone that might have acted in kind of like an immature way, sort of just like stormed off with no explanation. Someone that you haven't spoken to in quite some time, you haven't seen them in a while. It feels like there may have been efforts on your part to like reach out and apologize for anything that you did on your side of the equation, something where you've done a lot to kind of like heal and balance within yourself, and you've kind of moved on from the expectation of ever hearing from this person again. It's sort of like, okay, maybe this is just a karmic connection. Our story's over in this life, and you've kind of like leveled up in some sort of way. You shut the door to this circumstance and to this person. This is the energy of somebody that, like, little do you know, they have also gone on some kind of quest within themselves. They've created some kind of balance within. They've worked through some things. I'm hearing anger issues with that Seven of Swords. So it may have even just been somebody that you were trying to like give your love, give your time, give your affection, and they didn't know how to receive. Someone that could have been like a master of self-sabotage, that second guessed kind of the nature of what you were trying to provide based on wounds in the past that could have interfered in this circumstance. And so it feels like something that they've gone through some kind of glow up, some kind of level up in their life, and there's an urge to like make amends, to provide that apology, or a sense of almost kind of like they've come to an understanding within themselves. I'm hearing it wasn't you, it was me. So something where they were just very kind of like operating from a wounded place, very sort of shut off to the connection, to love in general, or you sort of reached a wall or an impasse with one another and had to go your separate ways for healing. And so this person is circling back around with like an elevated perspective, something where they've made some changes in their life that it feels like had been long overdue but sort of necessary. And so this is the energy of someone, and this could have been someone that you felt was like a soulmate. You know, you thought that there was like a deep or unshakable bond between the two of you, and it might have been very startling just how little it took to kind of collapse this situation, or, you know, an approach that they took to you in the past might have sort of left you, you know, scratching your head like, where did I go wrong? What did I do? Why did things all of a sudden change? Why did this person pull a 180 on me? And so, as much as you've changed and evolved into a different person, they as well have changed and evolved into a different version of them. And so, again, this feels like something that this is somebody that's coming back, like blast from the past sort of energy, resurfacing to try and set the record straight, try and do the right thing. Or it feels like to maybe even like there were a lot of unanswered questions that you've had to kind of create peace or resolution for yourself around that may have determined the nature of like a long journey that you've been on for healing, for confronting certain shadows, things that this person really sort of brought to the surface. It's maybe somebody that you pointed the finger of blame for a very long time. And then in order to kind of move forward for yourself, you needed to take personal responsibility for your role in this, maybe overlooking red flags that this person had presented in the past because you were like looking into the higher potential within them. You were trying to see the good, trying to hold space for them to evolve and change. And so it's almost like the only way you were able to free yourself from this is by, kind of not giving your power away to that situation, to that circumstance, to that person, in order to sort of free yourself or liberate yourself, to allow yourself to open your heart and love again, or, to kind of reclaim your value and worth with this individual. So let's take a look at what they want to say to you. Okay, so we have you are safe, comfort, and victory. Yeah, so that's more of that Six of Wands energy. There's something where this person has kind of softened into a different version of themselves, and it feels like they want to disclose a lot of truth to you, that they don't bear you any animosity or ill will. They wish the best for you. This is somebody who it feels like it may be very surprising in what they want to share or reveal in terms of like, I didn't do right by you in the past. It may be something that for this person, or just based on the nature of how things ended between the two of you, that could be very shocking, the level of like honesty that they present. It feels like something that this is almost like a peace offering or like an olive branch, but it doesn't come with strings attached. This is somebody that it feels like isn't just trying to weasel their way back into the situation with you, to try to get a free pass for anything or try and get some kind of like access. They're not coming in trying to like showboat or anything. It feels like this is somebody that might have gone through like a real spiritual awakening. I know it's easy to kind of assume like, the tiger doesn't change its stripes, the leopard doesn't change its spots. Yes, it's very difficult for people to change, and a lot of people don't change, or those changes are very just sort of temporary or surface level. But it is possible for people to go through profound transformations in their lifetime. This is somebody that it feels like is one of those kind of rare cases, or those rare individuals where they are a different version of themselves than you were interacting with in the past. So whatever they want to kind of bring forth, it feels like they don't want to intrude upon you, upon your life, upon your privacy. They're not trying to like make you feel uncomfortable. They're not trying to like pressure you to give them another chance. This is somebody that's like wanting to do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing, which again may be kind of shocking in this sort of day and age, modern relationships, that a lot of people look at them as just turn and burn situations. They hurt other people and kind of just move forward, sort of like hurt people. This is someone that might have been in that energy before of like, they were hurt, they inflicted hurt upon you. They'd gone through some kind of healing, some sort of introspection, something where again, it's like a different version of them. And so what they're wanting to like provide you is some kind of peace, some kind of closure, some kind of reassurance that the suffering that they caused you did not go unnoticed by them. And maybe this is something where they got a taste of their own medicine. They've had to like pay some kind of karmic debt. This has been a humbling experience for them. And so it may even be a sense of like they've walked a mile in your shoes or more than that. And so now there's this urge to try and kind of like create an energetic balance. And this may be somebody that even like in an email or in a text, or if you happen to like see them out in person, although it feels like they want to kind of keep their distance from you, to not come on too strong, not overwhelm you based on whatever might have happened in the past. You know, you might be kind of guarded or leery of this person. And so they're not trying to like encroach on that. They're not making unreasonable assumptions like, yeah, we can just sweep this under the rug and it'll be all fine and good. So it feels like it may, again, be something where it's like an email, it's a text message, it's something that kind of like, they may even say like, I don't expect you to respond. I don't even know if you're going to read this. It may even be somebody that's like, I don't even know if this is still your contact information, if it's been a while since you spoke to this person or interacted with this person. But this is someone who's like genuinely trying to do the right thing. In a time when a lot of people don't try to do the right thing, when it's easier to like project and just kind of move on in that hurt energy. This is somebody that it feels like it'll really be surprising for you based on the nature of the actions that they take or the words that they say to you, but also in the fact of like who they were before, the mindset that they were operating in, you know, kind of your experiences with them very personally. They're coming forth in almost like a softer energy, trying to provide you with some kind of peace, some kind of closure, some kind of comfort, some kind of reassurance that at the end of the day, they're taking personal ownership over the hurt and the disappointment and the pain and the sorrow that they have caused you in the past. So let's see what else they want to say. Okay, we have gratitude and thanks and affirmation for positive change. Yeah, so this is like Six of Swords energy right here. This is somebody who wants to, they're not assuming that you're like hanging around waiting for them to set the record straight, give that apology. It's almost like so much time has passed. They know the ship has kind of sailed in terms of just picking up where you left off, or, you know, that it would be unlikely that you'd entertain the notion of even like a friendship with them. That may be the nature of what's happened, or just the way that they're at kind of with their mindset right now, that this is somebody who's not looking at this in like an opportunistic kind of way, like let me see all the right things and kind of get my foot back in the door. They're gonna lead with the assumption of like, you won't reply, you won't respond, they won't ever hear from you again, but they need to put that energy out there. They need to speak those words. They need to address the elephant in the room in some sort of way, not only to kind of allow themselves to move forward in some capacity, but there's also something like, whatever you might have been holding on to in terms of like that hurt or that pain that they've caused, whatever the nature of your personal journey is in terms of how you've tried to like ease that hurt inside of yourself, it's almost a sense of like, I don't know if you would need that apology. I don't know if you've created that closure for yourself. If you have, if you haven't, I need to say this. I need to speak this out. I need to kind of put this out there for you so that you understand that I've reached a place within myself of being able to acknowledge the hurt I've created for you, the suffering I've created for you, the trust issues that I've created for you. So again, this is like a rare individual. This little mermaid here, it's almost like a mythological creature. Like this is the last person you would think would kind of like not just come to their senses, but would become like actively become a better person in like a realistic way. Like not just a gimmick, but somebody who has gone through a process of profound change, or the nature of what they say that is like all the things you would want to hear, that you've been hoping to hear. They come forth with that. Again, not with the sense of like pressure to sort of restart a connection. Although if this, you know, depending on who this is and kind of like how they sort of phrase that may be something you'd be willing to think about or, you know, entertain the possibility of. But it's almost kind of like somebody who's just trying to do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing, and that may seem kind of very mythic in and of itself. Like, is this real? Is this person for real? Did this really just happen? It may be something where this almost feels like winning the lottery, sort of. It's kind of like, I never thought that person would do the right thing, or they'd reach out and try and, sort of admit their wrongs in an honest way, and yet here they are. After all this time, this is kind of what the journey in life has taught them. It feels that they're also going to give a lot of gratitude, acknowledgement, thanks for the time that you spent with one another, for your impact on their life. Something about your experience with all these little butterflies here has catalyzed a process of change. This is somebody that might almost be like, I'm sorry that I was not able to change when we were together. Time apart has been exactly what I've needed to become a different person. I'm sorry that our journey had to go the way that it went, but I'm hoping that things are better with you, and I need to let you know what I've kind of like reflected on, or the experience in the aftermath of our time together, that none of that was in vain, that I'm actively trying, or have become, the change in the world that not just that they were seeking, but that they've become aware was necessary. Because they understand how they hurt you. They understand how they disappointed you. They understand how they let you down. And so there's a hope, like with this little kitty in the bowl of milk, is like, I hope you're not still crying over spilt milk. Like, maybe there's nothing they can do to get you to open up to them again. Maybe it's just kind of like too little too late. But this is somebody that's kind of like, if you're holding any sort of like suffering, anything within where you might have thought that you were culpable in this situation for what happened, or that you should be to blame, or, anything that has kind of like been of detriment to you, I want to try to fix that in some sort of way by providing acknowledgement for the role I played, not just in your suffering, but in our suffering as like a unit, or as a team, or as a couple, or like whatever that looks like. So yeah, this is somebody, it feels like, that is trying to come towards you and kind of give gratitude and thanks for the role that you played in their life, but then also try to provide those words or that clarity or some kind of closure for you, so that you're able to sort of release any hurt, any resentment, any confusion, any guardedness that you still hold on to in the aftermath of your experience with one another. So let's get a couple message cards from this person's higher self and see what else they want you to know. Okay, we have trust me. So it feels like, again, this is somebody that's coming in and they're like waving the white flag. They don't want to fight with you. They don't want to create static for you. They don't want to create drama. They don't want to open old wounds. And so it feels like they're going to take kind of a standoffish approach to this situation. But this is definitely something that if your instinct or your intuition is telling you to kind of reply to them, to open a line of dialogue between the two of you where you can speak openly and honestly, or you can kind of try to have conversations that lead you towards feeling better in some sort of way about yourself and about like the circumstances that have happened. This is something that they would be open to, kind of taking baby steps, taking it slow, moving in a very a calculated fashion, but almost like you taking the lead, sort of like you determine how far I come in. Or if you keep me at arm's length, if you read what I have to say, if you kind of, you take that in, but you choose not to respond in some sort of capacity, you just sort of leave it at that, then there's a sense that they respect that. They don't want to pressure you. They don't want to badger you. They don't want to like re-traumatize you in some sort of way. We also have, I don't want to let you down. Yeah, so this person has definitely had like a come to Jesus meeting, something that has happened, something that has changed them. It's changed their outlook on their life. It's changed their priorities. It's changed the way they look at their past in general. It feels like you're not the only person that they're reaching out and making amends to, but you might be the most important of all the people that they've hurt or that they've let down in some sort of way. And so they're leading with that energy of like, I don't expect you to take what I have to say seriously. I don't expect you to trust me. I don't expect you to respond. I don't expect us to kind of pick up where we left off, but I need to let you know this. If ever, you would want to talk, or anything like that, this is how you reach me. But in the meantime, I wish you well. I hope that you have a beautiful life. I hope that any kind of hurt I've created in this situation is in some sort of way minimized by this effort, or this very almost like a courageous step forward that they're taking with you. And they also say, I'm sending you telepathic messages. Yeah, so again, this is somebody that isn't going to want to try to encroach on your space, or they don't want to overwhelm you, they don't want to bombard you. They want to kind of respect who you've become, the life that you've created, or what you've had to do to sort of heal and move beyond the experience that they provided to you in the past, or that the two of you had together. This may even be somebody that if you were in like a toxic connection, like you were both two people in very toxic mindsets and very toxic lifestyles, like it was just sort of two people that came together and brought out the worst in one another. This is a sense of almost something that they're not expecting, that kind of like, okay, they've gone through some sort of change. Now the formula's right between the two of you. They're not kind of wanting to get back on that same sort of merry-go-round with you in some sort of way. This may even be somebody that is kind of like, they may think like, if anything, you're better off as friends, but you're just not compatible as romance. Or it may even be based on the nature of your circumstances. That's off the table entirely as well. So it's like they're keeping a respectful distance, but there's something that they need to acknowledge as far as the part that they played in the circumstance between the two of you, and how that might have hurt you, how that, could have affected sort of the course of your life moving forward. And they're coming again with a very sort of innocent energy of like, I just have to do the right thing in this circumstance. And at this point, it feels like it's reaching out with that bit of communication. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. S, R, U, C, F, S, G, W, L, U, R, Z, P, and M. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Carnelian. So let's start by taking a look at who's headed your way. Okay, we have the Knight of Pentacles, the Hierophant, the Tower, and the King of Swords. So when that King of Swords card just jumped over here onto the Hierophant, I was hearing, I'm going to marry you. So this feels like somebody that you've caught their eye, you've caught their attention. It feels like the first moment this person caught sight of you, and they may be in like a secret admirer energy, kind of with this cloaked horse and this knight in full armor. They've been observing, they've been watching, they've been like planning their move. It was almost like something inside of them activated the first time that they saw you. They may have done a double take and almost thought that you were someone that they knew. Like, that person looks so familiar. Where do I know that person from? Are they famous? Are they a celebrity? Something about you kind of like stopped this person in their tracks. And it feels like this is nobody that you've spoken to yet. But this is something where there's like a deep soul level recognition on this person's part, where they're very like compelled towards you, very drawn towards you, very much a sense of kind of like, I want to get to know you. You're very attractive, but at the same point in time, there's something deeper than that, something that they may have never experienced before, that's kind of like love at first sight sort of energy, or like a sense of almost like their soul kind of going, there you are. I've been looking for you. I've been searching my whole life for you, or I've crossed oceans of time in order to find you, in order to like come to this place within the lifespan of myself as a soul, and like here we are. There you are again, that familiar person, that beautiful person that I remember, that my soul remembers. There's like an essence of familiarity where they've definitely, like, if this person had like other options in romance, all of those are off the table. This is somebody that is very like focused, very fixated on, I want to make a move, I want to approach you, but I want to do so with concentrating all of my emotional energy, all of my psychic energy, all of my time, all of my presence. If you will get to know me, if you'll open up to me, if you'll give me a chance, if you'll give me an opportunity, I'm not coming in trying to like juggle you or, you know, with other people, or sort of like vet you out. I'm not trying to like test this situation. I'm not just coming in to waste your time or waste my time. I'm not just coming in out of curiosity, but this is somebody that is like very deeply certain in some sort of way that this is almost kind of like a fated occurrence, that they have encountered you in some sort of way. There's something within them that speaks to almost kind of the potential between the two of you for something next level as far as romance is concerned. So maybe this is like fulfilling some ancient soul contracts, soulmates reunited across space and time, or it may even just be that kind of like the vibe you give off, who you are as a person, however they've kind of caught sight of you or encountered you, with kind of all this Pentacles energy here with Taurus and the Hierophant, and then also obviously Pentacles with the Knight of Pentacles. It feels like this is somebody that has like caught sight of you in real time, in the real world. This isn't just somebody that's like seen your profile online. This would be somebody that's like would be able to have like a face-to-face interaction, would be able to approach you and speak to you in person in some sort of way. And so there's a sense of like they're gearing up to kind of like make that move, speak those words out loud, like ask you out or introduce themselves in some sort of way. But this is somebody that's kind of like, if you say yes, if you take them up on this invitation and on this offer, if you're, you know, kind of like willing to open up or hear them out in some sort of way, they want to make sure that they got all their resources kind of available to them in the broadest sense of that idea, to be able to kind of wine and dine you in all the ways that you should be, to kind of invest fully in kind of like, okay, you know, if a spark happens between the two of us, if there's like real compatibility here, you know, then I'm willing to go all the way with you. And so like all the way to the altar, all the way to I do, all the way to forever, if that's something that you'll have with me. And so this is somebody that it's a very kind of like a dominant sort of energy. It's a very determined energy. It's very much like I can't just sit in that energy of like a secret admirer. I can't just like crush on you forever. I'm not going to. Like, this is somebody that's going to make that move forward, it feels like, and they're very serious. This is somebody that has like good intentions, somebody that has kind of a lot to offer, it feels like, in a very practical sense, because it feels like this isn't somebody that's prone to be very whimsy. This might even be somebody that's not even normally a very romantic person, and yet there's something that's kind of like, okay, hold the phone. Let me kind of just shift some of my priorities around so that I can start to get creative with like, maybe this is the type of person I've been looking for. Maybe this is that feeling that I've been waiting to experience with someone that I have never found with anyone else. And so it's going to take like a different sort of approach. It's going to take something very unique for me to be able to kind of follow that through, to sort of follow that urge of curiosity, and to not kind of miss the mark in this circumstance, to not kind of lead with fear, or to hold back in some sort of way, and therefore miss out on kind of the full range of what's possible. So let's see what they want to say to you. Okay, we have divine order, spiritual understanding, and compassion. Yeah, so this is somebody that may be very kind of like carefully planning this approach, because they don't want to come off as like cheesy, or like they're just trying to give you a line of BS, or, you know, something very cliche, very corny. But there is a sense of like, they're very drawn to your energy, to your vibe, and to your aura. And this may not be somebody that speaks or thinks in those terms normally. So there's a sense of almost kind of like, what do I say? How do I phrase that without sounding, you know, like a cheap rendition of like a player or something. This is like a very serious person, and they're very kind of like serious about their interest in sort of like wanting to get to know you. But there's also a sense of wanting to maybe even kind of like cultivate inside of themselves access to that place within that was very much awakened or activated, like the moment that they caught sight of you, that started off almost as like a deja vu, or again the sense of like, don't I know you from somewhere, you look so familiar. But again, it's nobody that's like said that yet. So they may even choose to approach with that sort of like, okay, that was the first impression, that's what I'm going to lead with. Do I know you? You look so familiar. And that being kind of the way to break the ice, that being the conversation starter between the two of you. That's definitely a sense of wanting to, you know, kind of build in sort of a, like an intellectual, but also kind of like a spiritual way. So this is somebody that isn't going to want to kind of rush forth into sort of like, you know, go have, you know, dinner or coffee with me now. Like, let's go do something right now. Although it definitely could be like an invitation to coffee, an invitation to lunch, an invitation to dinner. Kind of like, what are you doing later? You know, or even something where they're able to kind of like make small talk with you in some sort of way. Because there's a sense of like, they want to get to know how your mind works. They want to see kind of like, are you picking up on the same vibe that I'm picking up on? Are you feeling the same thing that I'm feeling? Like, I felt this inside, but what happens when I approach you very directly? Is this something where, you know, that same kind of momentum is going to be experienced with you? And so because they've been in that kind of secret admirer energy, there's a sense of like, even sort of hesitation on their part. Like, is this just some like experience of limerence? Is that like, what is going on? Because they've never had this kind of visceral sensation within them where it's not just like, okay, I'm sexually attracted to someone, but there's almost a sense of like, there are aspects within me, psychic aspects that are like drawn to you, like a moth to a flame. Like, you feel like a magnetic pull that they have towards you. And so there's a sense that they need to get up close and personal to kind of like, is that something that you're able to tune into as well? Is that even something real? Is that enough of a spark or a potential to build upon? Is that something that might have been the kind of missing ingredient, the missing link in what I've failed to find or failed to experience in relationships with others? Maybe this, whatever this is that I'm feeling inside, if you feel that same way too, or vibing on that same frequency with one another through the midst of like mundane conversation, or, you know, like some kind of surface level interaction, maybe that's sort of the key that was missing all along to building a relationship that has true staying power, not just where it looks good on paper, or, you know, we kind of like, you know, respect each other, we're attracted to each other, you know, the chemistry's great, the sex is great, like all of that stuff. But there's almost a sense of like, maybe this sort of aspect within them that's kind of awakened, that's been catalyzed, that has kind of come to life inside, maybe that is kind of the ingredient that sort of could lead to prosperity in a long-term sense. Like they're thinking in those terms, but again, there's almost a sense of like, how do I sort of package that or bottle it up in a way that I don't just sound crazy? I don't just sound like, you know, somebody that's just coming in and trying to kind of present as like this super evolved or spiritual person, because it feels like they may be like new to spirituality. Maybe this has set them on some kind of quest to like find answers, do some research. Maybe they know a little bit about auras and vibes and energy, but it feels like this is definitely something for anything that they know or anything that they've come to research. This is kind of like the real experience of that with another person, like from their lens. It's helping that make a lot more sense, but it's also opening up a lot of questions. And so there's a sense of them feeling they can't lead with that, or you're not going to take them seriously. But there's some aspect where they want to kind of get you alone to try and understand, like, does your mind even work that way? Do you have that kind of perspective about the nature of reality? Is that something you're feeling in this circumstance? Is that something that even is real within me when I get up close and personal with you? So let's get a couple more to see what else they want to say. Okay, we have meditation for clarity and learn from life. Yeah, so this is somebody, it feels like, that wants to take the time to get to learn you, get to experience you. They don't want to sit, it feels like, in secret admirer energy for too much longer, because there's a worry that like they will just build into something of limerence, or their imagination will kind of run away with them and they'll make a lot of assumptions, or they'll feed too much into kind of like that. Is this destiny? Is this fate? Is this the one I've been looking for? You know, is this my forever person? Like that kind of an energy. There's a sense of like, no, there's got to be something practical. There's got to be something real about our experience with one another. But it's very intriguing that there's this other component, because I've never had that with someone before. And so it feels to be something where they want to not kind of put you on the spot and ask a lot of questions in terms of like an initial conversation, or, you know, like if you take them up on an offer to go to coffee, go to lunch, go to dinner, there's a sense of like they want to be an active listener to kind of see how receptive you are. This is almost somebody that wants to hold that kind of sense of like, I feel a spark of something more, something a little extraordinary, and kind of just hold that in their mind to sort of listen and see, are you picking up on that too? Is that one-sided? Is there something mutual? Maybe you know more about such things than I do, and I would benefit being kind of in that teachable perspective with you. And so this is somebody that wants to kind of not fill the space between the two of you with a lot of empty words, but wants to kind of really like take the time to allow you to sort of open up or warm up to them at your own pace. This is also somebody that it feels like they want to let you know that, again, they're not trying to like come off as sort of just feeding you a line, like, I feel we have this soul connection, maybe this is destiny, I felt something from your energy. Like, that's not the approach they're trying to take. They want to show you that they're like a logical person, that they're a reasonable person, that they're like, you know, a grounded individual, they got their head on straight, they got their priorities right in life. And so there's a sense of almost just kind of like, let's meet in this experience where there's some kind of boundary of almost like we're starting from scratch, and yet I've felt this deep compulsion to you on like a spiritual or an energetic level in some sort of way, that it feels like can kind of help them in some sort of manner to verify for themselves if that spark, that draw towards you, towards your essence, towards that sort of like, wow, I want to get to know this person, that's the one I'm going to marry, you know, you seem so familiar, like all of that. Is that just a fantasy, or is there something like realistic with that? And so this is kind of like a gentle approach. It's somebody that, you know, again, because they're having to kind of like pull this sort of higher feeling and condense that into words that make sense so that you'll take them seriously, or you won't be like on guard with them. There's almost a sense of sort of like less is more. And so it may be something where it's just very kind of brisk, the things that they say, kind of stepping into this mode of a listener or a receiver in order to be able to kind of allow you to sort of let them know or express to them, or kind of like being in a place of like, I'll read the signals that you give. I'll read between the lines and sort of then, determine kind of how much I press this forward, how kind of assertive I am in this situation, how much I kind of touch on that sense, although it feels like they would be open in kind of like an early phase of getting to know one another to address that, to say like, yeah, I felt this kind of strong or weird vibe or pull towards you, but it feels like something that they may also be like, I don't want to just come off as someone trying to manipulate you with that, like, I think we're soulmates, I think we got this past life connection, your vibe's really juicy, like they in some sort of way know that might be, kind of unsafe or unreliable kind of territory, and that is not necessarily kind of the best approach that someone could take, or there's an assumption of sort of like that's not kind of the angle that they're wanting to come at this circumstance with, and yet there is this aspect of kind of like, I want to address that at some point. I don't just want to like keep that to myself in some sort of way, but I don't want that to be the emphasis or kind of like the place that we're building on, but it's definitely their motivation to kind of pursuing this or pursuing you. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know. Okay, and they say, I've been having weird dreams about us. Yeah, so this could definitely be something where you've activated this person, you've awakened this person, you've been a catalyst for some kind of awareness within them of subtle ways in which two souls can encounter one another, and it can be for purposes of more than just kind of like mundane experience, or kind of lessons. They're almost kind of thinking maybe you're that blessing that I've been sort of looking for, I've been waiting for, I've been hoping for, I've been praying for, as far as like the vibe you're giving off, how you present yourself in real time in the real world. That's everything. You're like that dream person, you're that full package, and there may almost be a sense of them like, pinch me and let me know I'm not sleeping, because this is something that is kind of like, here you are in the flesh, and everything within me is very like responsive to you, and I want to make sure that this is real, that I'm not just imagining this. I want to handle this situation correctly, because so far what they've been able to see is like you're presenting as this vision in real time. Yeah, and they say, I just want to go back in time. So there's definitely been like a deja vu as far as you're concerned. This could be a past life soulmate, or somebody that is almost like, you remind me of somebody that I know, but I can't quite put my finger on it. You seem so familiar, and yet I don't think we've met before. I feel so drawn to you. It's almost something that feels like an aspect within them has kind of been waiting for this moment in their life journey. And even in a bigger context than that, to encounter you. It feels significant. It feels important. It feels like you've both been kind of led to this place in your experience. They also say, I don't want to miss my chance with you. Yeah, so if you're resonating with these energies or this vibe of kind of like secret admirer coming in from the shadows, that can definitely confirm that this person is like, they're getting ready to pounce. They're getting ready to make their move. They're getting ready to not sit in the energy of observation or planning or thinking or scripting what they're going to say. It's kind of like, all right, now or never. This is my chance. I got to say something. I got to do something. Or else it feels like this is, again, like a very practical person, a very grounded person. Like they're telling themselves, you need to do something, or else you need to kind of just ignore this circumstance. You need to just walk away. You need to detach. They will not allow themselves to kind of spiral into an unhealthy obsession. And yet there is a sense of kind of like having to get very serious with themselves about like, do I speak, or do I just kind of chalk this up to something that towards the, end of my life, I might always wonder what would have happened if I had done something different. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got L, F, A, D, V, R, I, O, Q, J, A, X, N, and E. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the black tourmaline. So let's start by taking a look at who's headed your way. Okay, we have the Knight of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles, the Magician, and the Nine of Swords. So this feels to be somebody that has been in your life for a while. You've maybe known one another through different seasons and phases of your reality. Somebody that it was almost like you would come back around into one another's reality, but somebody would be in a relationship. And so it wouldn't be the time to kind of explore almost like a mutual crush, somebody that might have been sort of like a friend. At one point in time, it could have been like a situationship, a friend with benefits, but you kind of just like went in other directions, something that there may have been kind of no definite label on your circumstance with one another. And so, you know, it would have been almost kind of like okay to kind of have an open circumstance or to see other people in some sort of way. But this is somebody that has almost like had deeper feelings for you than they've let on. Somebody that based on like very legitimate real world circumstances, you know, opportunities, maybe things professionally or even as far as like school is concerned, opportunities for traveling or maybe moving abroad for you or for them. This can even be something where like distance is a factor, but you've kind of like, you keep crossing paths with one another. This is somebody that like you go periods of time where you don't speak and then you reconnect. Somebody that you may have even like run into in kind of like weird places. You wouldn't expect to see them there. You hadn't spoken to them in a couple of years. All of a sudden there they are. Or they kind of drop off the radar and then they pop back in. But it's not somebody that was like hot and cold. It almost feels like something that it would have been just like a very kind of casual circumstance. Something where there might have been sort of the feeling, like crushed feelings, but not because anybody like did anything that sort of violated an understanding between the two of you. This definitely ties into the idea of like right person, wrong time. Somebody with this like little infinity symbol here, you may have been going like for the last 8 years. This could have been like you're looping in and out of one another's reality over like an extended period of time. And so it's almost, I'm hearing like clockwork. So this person, like you may be anticipating they're going to resurface at any particular point in time, or you've been dealing with them long enough that there's a pattern of kind of like you come into one another's lives and there's always sort of like something between the two of you. You know, again, kind of like work obligations, family obligations, distance being a factor where you've not had the opportunity to really pursue anything substantial in terms of like an actual relationship. Third parties could have been a factor. There could have either been divorce and somebody needed to kind of take time to themselves, other relationships that you or this person were in that sort of, meant that like, okay, we can't pursue anything because you're with someone or I'm with someone or, I've come out of a breakup, you've come out of a breakup. And it's almost a sense of like a foundation of friendship between the two of you where there might have almost been enough respect for one another. Like, I'm not just going to use you as a rebound. If this might even be something where you've talked with one another before of kind of like, yeah, I wonder what would happen if we dated. You would be the kind of person that I think I could be happy with, but I've got this other circumstance, or it's too bad like I'm single because now you're with this other person. And so I guess it's almost somebody that it might have on more than one occasion, like I guess we'll never know kind of energy, but the universe and different circumstances kind of keep pulling you back around to one another. You sort of wander away from one another and come back around, but in a way that it feels like there's never been any sort of falling out, just sort of disappointment, almost kind of like, well, maybe in another lifetime. And it's like you've told yourself this, that person's told themselves this, and time passes and then you surface again in one another's reality. Something where it might even be just kind of like you encounter them and then they're off to do something again. They're only in town for like a week and it's a wonderful week that you spend with one another, and then they're going for something, for school or for work, and it'll be a couple of years before they're back in the same kind of geographic location as you. Times where you may have intense or regular kind of talking stages or talking periods, and then it's radio silence. Not that they kind of like, are stonewalling you or kind of, ghosting you in any sort of way, but it might almost just be something where based on that sort of casual kind of connection, that friendship connection, then it's like, they meet someone, and wherever they are living, that they start to date. And so the communication between the two of you kind of drops off, or vice versa. You may meet somebody, that then has kind of made it so that it's like, okay, we're not interacting as much as we have before. It's almost like a lot can be read in between the lines of the circumstance, where this is the energy of like two people that there might even be a sense of people have asked, like people in both your lives, like, why don't you just date one another? Why don't you two just get together? Like that's been very obvious. It's been very talked about, but it's something that it feels like you've not really taken action. If you've hooked up with this person, or maybe you kissed this person, you kind of almost went there with this person, it feels like it's never gone all the way into sort of like, yeah, we're dating, yeah, we're gonna be exclusive, yes, we're gonna try to give this a shot, see if we would work in a connection. It's like you've knocked on all these other doors and possibilities with other romantic partners, and you keep coming up empty-handed, but yet there's this energy of kind of like something between the two of you where you just get along. This is like the type of person where you pick up where you left off, no matter how much time it's been since you've been interacting with one another. So let's see what they want to tell you. Okay, we have beloved one, outdoors, and leadership. Okay, so with these energies, I was hearing a couple things. I was hearing, I'm finally ready, but then I was also hearing, he's finally ready. So it feels like this is something where this person's like spirit team, maybe their friends or family, their higher self, their angels, their ancestors. The universe has been kind of like nudging them forward. The trumpet has been blown, sort of like getting this person's attention. Like, you're not finding your happiness with anyone else. You need to honor that kind of inclination that has been within you, that you and this person, you the viewer, might be very compatible with one another. And so it's somebody that it feels like is getting ready to kind of like confess some deeper feelings, to ask you out, to not kind of just be nonchalant, to no longer pretend that they want to just be friends, or that it's kind of like whatever the nature of sort of like obstacles and challenges between the two of you that feel to have something to do with the fact that this might have been something where there were like missed opportunities, false starts, at one point in time, third parties in the situation. This can be somebody that is like in some way in the life of like an ex of yours, or vice versa. You may be kind of like 6 degrees of separation from someone that is their ex, or it can be something where you've just been like you've agreed to just be friends for so long that there's been like a fear of like, I don't want to lose the friendship if we don't work out romantically. And so they've come up with excuses, maybe even distance as a factor, like a long distance situation, that this is somebody that's kind of like, they're at a point in their life or in their reality, they're not just going to like float back into your life and sort of, you know, serendipitously encounter you. This is somebody that's like actively making their way towards you because they've kind of like thought about this, or they've gotten some kind of guidance, signs and synchronicities kind of pointing towards you, and there's a sense of almost like, I want to know. I think that we might be good with one another. I didn't find what I was looking for in anyone else. I don't think you found what you were looking for in anyone else. So it makes sense for us to explore the idea of romance with one another. Finally, or the energy of like, again, I'm finally ready, or like, he's finally ready, she's finally ready. Like, you needed to go through certain experiences in order to really evolve as people, or kind of like acclimate your palate to what love is not, or what you thought you were looking for, and then in another person, and to experience the reality of that, and then be like, ew, that's not what I wanted at all, or that doesn't kind of bring out the best in me. That's kind of, that was just a lesson. That was just a wound. That was just a pattern. It's like this might have almost been something where you were too young before, or you needed to go through like certain evolutions, but now you're older. Now you're wiser. Now you're more mature. Now you've had certain experiences, and it's kind of like, okay, I was looking at all the wrong things. I was prioritizing the wrong things. I was letting the wrong sort of obstacles stand in the way, or again, necessary kind of karmic loops and patterns that had to take place, to where it's like, I don't want to miss my moment. I don't want to waste any more time. You make sense to me as a person. You're my best friend. So it's like they consider you their best friend, or like when they're with you, they feel like the best version of self. And so this is the sense of like, I want to step outside of the bounds of whatever we've been defined as to one another. If it is just like you hook up with this person every once in a while, then there's a sense of like, no, let's go out on a real date. Let's give this a real chance. Let's explore this for real. If this is something where you've only been kind of dancing around that, flirting around that, kind of saying even like, you know, under better circumstances, you and I, maybe in another lifetime, right person, wrong time. Like if you've been very open with this person about that, or you've been the shoulder to cry on for one another through different breakups or different kind of like life experiences, then there's a sense of almost like a seize the moment kind of energy, and like, let's not just be that kind of support system for one another. It's like somebody who trusts the foundation that you have with one another as strong enough, as reliable enough, as certain enough to be able to kind of hold fast. If you tried dating, if you explored that in some sort of way and it didn't work out, like they're trusting we could go back to being friends. This might actually make our relationship with one another in that sense stronger. But there is a sense of like romantic feelings that they have, that like, I feel that we should take this to the next level. I don't think it's not going to work out. We've been through our ups and downs with one another in so many other ways. We've gone through this experience with one another in our own lives. We keep gravitating back towards one another. All the signs point to you. Everybody is encouraging me to like do something about this as far as you are concerned, to claim you, to speak my feelings out loud, to take a chance on this situation. And so I don't want to miss out on that. I trust in what we have enough to be encouraged by what we can have in a more beautiful sense moving forward. So let's get a little bit more and see what else they want to say. Okay, so we have healing waters and give in to passion. Yeah, so this is somebody that's ready to take that leap of faith. They're ready to dance with you into the next phase of what's possible. Maybe they want to ask you out to go dancing, something where they want to create more closeness. They want to slow dance with you. They want to kind of move to a unique rhythm as compared to what your experiences or encounters with one another up to this point have been. This is somebody that wants to talk about their emotions. They may even get, with this little waterfall here, they may even get kind of teary-eyed. This may be somebody that has been kind of like thinking about, okay, I know I'm going to see this person again. I'm due to come back into town, or I'm wrapping some things up. Or maybe they've just been in a point in their life. Feels like it's been kind of quiet between the two of you. There's not been a lot of contact recently, but it feels like that's normal. That's part of this cycle. Not hot and cold energy, not in and out, but just kind of like they've got things going on. You've got things going on. I mean, busy season. So it's maybe their busy season, your busy season, as far as work's concerned, as far as travel is concerned. Like, it's nothing where you've been like sitting and anxiously waiting, like, when am I going to hear from them? When am I going to see them? Like, it's just very casual. You may have gone through this enough over a long enough period of time to where, you've worked through some kind of anticipation of like something more, something different, and you're just cool. You're just going with the flow of this. And so there's a sense that they've been kind of like thinking about that, and there's almost a sense of like a deep confession of like, I want to be more than friends. I like you as more than a friend. I know you as a person. I've known you for a while. I've seen you in these different evolutions of who you are, who you've become, what you're capable of becoming. You've seen that with me. You've seen me at my worst. You've seen me at my best. I don't want to kind of think that I'm going to find that fulfillment or satisfaction somewhere else. You're what I want. You're the person that I want to be with, or I want to take a chance on this circumstance. You are somebody that it feels like is everything that I need, or what I want to experience something on a deeper emotional level with. And so this is, again, something that it feels like for some people, it's going to be that big confession. It's going to be like, finally, these two got together. Finally, he said what was in his heart. Finally, she said what was on her mind. Finally, they took a chance on love. Something that it feels like very inevitable. Something that may get a lot of applause from people in both of your lives, definitely from your spirit teams, something in not even the manner in which this person delivers, because it may just be sort of like you see them, they ask you to meet up and you're thinking like, we're just going to have coffee and catch up. We're just going to grab a drink and it'll be like old times, only this time they're getting ready to speak that truth. Kind of like, I've thought a lot about this. This isn't something where it's like impulsive and kind of one thing leads to another. You might have had that with this person in the past, kind of like you're having a good time and all of a sudden, you wake up in the same bed, and kind of go about your way. Again, this is not somebody that you've dated before in any kind of capacity, but there's been chemistry, there's been attraction, there's been connection, there's been the possibility of what if. It's been kind of like forbidden fruit energy, and also definitely right person, wrong time. But this person is like taking matters into their own hands and sort of like, no, the time is now. I don't want to lean into or empower excuses anymore. I like you. I like you as more than a friend. I want to experience something real. I want to seriously explore what else is possible between the two of us. So let's get some message cards and see what else they want you to know. And they say, if I had only known then what I know now. Yeah, so if there was a third party in this circumstance, somebody that they were dating and that circumstance like fell apart, there's almost a sense of like it should have been you. Like if they were married before they're divorced, there's almost a sense of like, I know if that was you, that was my wife or was my husband, we would still be together. You feel like a fresh start, like a second chance at love for this person. It feels like they might have also been kind of setting the bar too low as far as who they were allowing into their life romantically previously. They might have felt like they weren't good enough for you in some sort of way in the past, and that's why this was kind of like missed opportunity, or they just kept you as a friend. But there's a sense that they've like overcome that in some way. They might have also been kind of afraid of, again, like getting hurt in love, and so it felt just safer to keep you in that friend zone. A sense of like also valuing your friendship enough to not want to like risk romance or, you know, anything like that, or like a relationship, because they didn't want to like lose you as a friend. And they've now kind of matured or evolved into the version of themselves. It's like, no, that's the perfect energy. Best friend and lovers, yeah, give me that any day of the week. That is what I need. We have established a beautiful long-term foundation of friendship with one another first and foremost. That's absolutely the right place to build towards a long-term successful connection. And they also say, I want to be vulnerable with you. So this is definitely somebody that wants to open up and express feelings, desires, interest, intrigue, and sort of like, okay, we work well as friends. We got this great rapport with one another. We always have a good time when we're together, no matter how long it is in between, you know, seeing one another, being around one another, talking with one another. We're always able to pick back up where we left off, and it's beautiful. You're my person. You're my other half. You're my missing piece. You're the yin to my yang. There's a lot that they want to like say to you, or not kind of put any limits as far as if you step outside of the way in which this connection's been defined up to this point in time. They're not going to kind of, they're trying not to sort of think about worst case scenarios or introduce any kind of pessimism into this. This is somebody that's trying to believe that the best can happen. They're hoping for the best. They're wishing for the best and whatever it is they want to say. And there's a sense of like pumping all their energy into the belief that like, yeah, the best will happen in this. They also say, I regret how I handled things before. Yeah, so they've been thinking about other missed opportunities, other times where it's been like right on the tip of their tongue, where they let fears get in the way, or maybe, you know, they've been like post-breakup and they've told themselves, no, I have to be single for a period of time. I need to regroup. I need to be in my energy. And yet something like a gut instinct, their intuition was like, yeah, but you can heal and also explore this connection with this person that's been down for you for a very long time, that's been in your corner as a friend for a very long time, that's kind of seen you at your worst, seen you at your best. They're not going to judge you like somebody you just meet fresh off the street, or somebody that's like new into your reality. They might have been dealing with a lot of like wounding inside, or not feeling good enough, and so they've kind of like kept this urge or this curiosity about, I wonder what romance could be like between the two of us. They kept that at arm's length for a very long time. And so since they're not able to kind of turn back the hands of time and do something different, this is somebody that's in seize the moment energy. It's now or never. I'm going to say something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to speak that truth, because we'll never know if we never know. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got H, B, C, U, P, O, L, D, F, T, Y, V, K, O, I, and Z. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well.